My husband introduced me as just a stay-at-home mom 3 weeks before I found the hotel receipt. He didn't shout it. He didn't smirk. He said it casually, like it was a harmless fact. Like he was telling people my eye color. Oh, this is my wife, Emma. She's just a stay-at-home mom. Just. The word landed softly. The room laughed politely, and something inside me went very still. It was the annual leadership gala for his company. Black dresses. Custom suits. Champagne that tasted like money. I had spent an hour curling my hair after putting our 2 kids to bed with a sitter. I wore a silk dress I hadn't touched in years. Daniel looked proud standing next to me, just not proud of me. A woman with sharp cheekbones and a diamond tennis bracelet asked, "So what did you do before staying home?" Before. Like motherhood was a detour. I opened my mouth to answer. Daniel beat me to it. She used to work in finance, but we decided it made more sense for her to focus on the kids. My schedule is insane. We decided. I smiled. Because that's what supportive wives do. They smile while their ambitions are summarized into a footnote. Later, while Daniel discussed quarterly growth projections, I stood alone near the bar, pretending to be fascinated by a floral arrangement. That's when I saw them. Daniel and Victoria, Vice President of Marketing. Divorced. Perfect posture. Red lipstick that didn't smudge. She laughed at something he said, not politely. Intimately, her hand rested on his chest for half a second too long. He didn't move it. He leaned closer. Close enough that if I'd taken one more step forward, I would have heard whatever secret lived between them. Instead, I stepped back, because I already felt it. That subtle shift, that quiet replacement. On the drive home, I asked carefully, "You and Victoria seem close." Daniel exhaled, like I'd accused him of a crime. "She's a colleague, Emma? She was touching you." It was nothing. Nothing. The word echoed in the dark car. I turned to the window and watched the city lights blur. I'd learned over the years that Daniel hated drama. He liked calm, stability, gratitude. He liked me agreeable. When we got home, he went straight to his office, said he needed to send a few emails. It was 11:48 p.m. I tucked Noah's blanket tighter around him. I brushed Lily's hair away from her face. I stood in the hallway outside Daniel's office and listened. He was laughing, softly, not a work laugh. I didn't knock. I went downstairs instead and opened my laptop at the kitchen counter. My little command center, he used to joke. What Daniel didn't joke about was money. He liked control, joint accounts, shared passwords, monthly budget reviews where he'd explain things to me as if I didn't understand compound interest. I understood compound interest. I also understood silence. 3 years ago, when Lily was born and I officially left my job, I didn't close my professional accounts. I simply changed the email. Emma Carter, my maiden name, consulting projects at first. Quiet, remote, late at night. Then investments, then risk, then reward. I didn't tell Daniel, because every time I mentioned working again, he'd say, "Why? We're fine. Focus on the kids." So I did both. I focused on the kids, and I built something he couldn't see. That night, after he finally came to bed, I reached for his phone. I had never done that before. Not once in 9 years of marriage. Trust isn't something you check until you have to. His phone unlocked easily. There was no dramatic message notification waiting. No obvious proof, just a thread. Victoria. I opened it. The messages went back months. Inside jokes. Late night still awake? Texts. Photos from business trips that didn't look like business. And then, "I hate sneaking around like this." Her words. 3 dots. His reply. "I know, but Emma would lose it. She depends on me." I stared at the screen. Depends on me. I kept scrolling. Once the new contract is signed, everything will be easier. What about the kids? They'll be fine. The room felt smaller. I waited for the tears. They didn't come. Instead, something colder arrived. Precision. I locked his phone and placed it back exactly where it had been. Then I went downstairs again. Opened my laptop. Logged in. 1 account. 2 accounts. Investment portfolio. Equity holdings. Real estate LLC. Savings. Consulting revenue. I watched the numbers load slowly. I had built it piece by piece between school drop-offs and grocery lists, while he thought I was folding laundry. Total net worth under my name alone. $4 США, 126,340 тысячных. Daniel thought I depended on him. Daniel thought I would lose it. Daniel thought I was just a stay-at-home mom. Upstairs, he shifted in his sleep, carefree, certain. I closed the laptop gently. I didn't wake him. I didn't confront him. Because when someone underestimates you, the worst thing you can do is warn them. And I wasn't going to warn him. Not yet. This wasn't the moment to cry. It was the moment to prepare. I didn't confront him the next morning. I made pancakes, blueberry for Noah, Plain for Lily because she liked to dip them in syrup until they were soggy. Daniel came downstairs already dressed for work, scrolling through his phone. He kissed the top of my head absent-mindedly. Morning. His cologne was new. Morning, I said. I watched him pour coffee, loosen his tie, glance at the time. He looked like a man in control of his life. A man with options. A man with a plan. Big day? I asked lightly. Board meeting, he said. Victoria's presenting the expansion proposal. Of course she was. I nodded. That's exciting. He gave me a quick smile. It is. We've been working on it for months. I held his gaze just long enough to let that word hang between us. Then Lily dropped her fork, and the moment passed. Daniel left at 8:12 a.m. He always left at 8:12 a.m. Routine is comforting when you think you're safe. By 8:30, I had the kids in the car for school drop-off. By 9:15, I was back home, sitting at the kitchen counter with my laptop open and a notebook beside me. I didn't cry. I made a list. If you want to survive betrayal, you don't start with emotion. You start with information. First, I printed the messages, not from his phone, from our shared cloud backup. Daniel loved convenience. He never thought I would look. Every text thread. Every timestamp. Every photo. I saved copies to an encrypted drive under my maiden name, Emma Carter. Then I called my attorney. Not a dramatic divorce lawyer with billboard ads. A quiet, meticulous woman named Allison Reed, who specialized in asset protection. I hadn't spoken to her in years. Not since I set up my LLC, she answered on the second ring. Emma Carter, she said smoothly. I was wondering when I'd hear from you again. I need to review my structure, I said. My voice didn't shake. And possibly prepare for separation. She didn't gasp. She didn't ask for details. She simply said, come in at 2. By the time I walked into her downtown office, I had already transferred a portion of liquid funds into a secondary account Daniel didn't know existed. Not to hide money illegally, just to ensure access. There's a difference. Allison reviewed everything carefully. The properties are clean, she said. The LLC shields them. Your consulting income is entirely separate. What about the joint accounts? I asked. You're entitled to your share, she replied calmly. But documentation is key. I slid a folder across her desk. Hotel receipts I'd pulled from our shared credit card statements that morning. Chicago, Napa, Miami, trips that had been labeled client meetings. Allison's expression didn't change. When did you find out? She asked. Last night. She leaned back slightly. Do you want to save the marriage? The question surprised me. I thought about Daniel's text. She depends on me. I thought about, they'll be fine. I thought about being introduced as just anything. No, I said. And for the first time, my voice carried something solid. Not anger. Decision. When I got home, Daniel was already there. Earlier than usual. He was in the kitchen, pacing. That was fast, I said, setting my bag down. He looked up sharply. Why didn't you tell me you were downtown today? My pulse didn't change. I didn't know I needed permission. His jaw tightened. I got an alert from the bank. Large transfer. There it was. Not concern about me. Concern about money. It's my consulting income, I said evenly. I moved it. He stared at me like I'd spoken another language. Consulting income? Yes. You don't consult. I almost laughed. I do. Silence stretched between us. Since when? He demanded. Since Lily was born. That's ridiculous. Is it? He ran a hand through his hair, agitation creeping in. Emma, why are you doing this? Doing what? Breathing independently? I held his eyes. I know about Victoria. The words were quiet, but they landed. His face drained of color for half a second before he recovered. Emma, don't, I said softly. Don't insult me by denying it. He stepped closer. It's not what you think. There it is, the oldest sentence in the book. I walked to the drawer and pulled out the printed messages, placed them on the counter between us. He looked down. He didn't touch them. The room felt very calm, dangerously calm. It started as nothing, he said finally. I tilted my head. Nothing seems to be a theme for you. He flinched. It got complicated. No, I replied. It got intentional. His voice hardened. You don't understand the pressure I'm under. I stared at him. You're right, I said. I only manage the children, the house, and a 7-figure portfolio. He froze. A what? I walked to my laptop, turned it toward him, opened the account summary. The numbers glowed on the screen. He blinked once, twice. That's not. It is. He stepped closer, as if proximity might make the digits rearrange themselves into something smaller. You've been hiding money? I've been earning money. Why wouldn't you tell me? I held his gaze steadily. Because every time I tried to talk about working again, you said we didn't need it. His mouth opened, closed. You let me believe you depended on me, he said slowly. I let you believe what was convenient for you. That was the moment something shifted in his eyes. Not guilt, not love, calculation. How long have you been planning this? He asked. I wasn't planning anything, I said. Until last night. He looked at the printed messages again. At the numbers on the screen. At me. For the first time in years, he didn't look certain, and that unsettled him more than my anger ever could. You're overreacting, he tried. I almost admired the persistence. I don't think I am. He exhaled sharply. You're blowing up our family over a mistake. A mistake is forgetting an anniversary, I said quietly. This was a strategy. The words hung between us, heavy, final. Upstairs, Lily laughed at something on her tablet. Noah's footsteps thudded down the hallway. Life. Still moving. Daniel's voice dropped. What do you want? I met his eyes. I want you to understand something. He waited. I am not dependent on you. The silence that followed was different from the others. Not confusion, not denial, recognition. For the first time since that gala night, he wasn't looking at me like I was small. He was looking at me like I was a threat. And I was just getting started. Daniel didn't sleep in our bed that night. He said he needed space. I didn't argue. He moved into the guest room with a pillow and his phone, as if distance could reorganize what had already collapsed. The house felt strangely peaceful, like it knew something honest had finally entered it. The next morning, he tried a different approach. Regret. I ended it, he said over coffee, eyes rimmed red. Last night. I told her it was over. I buttered toast for Lily. And it was a mistake, he said quickly. Last night. I told her it was over. I buttered toast for Lily. And it was a mistake, he said quickly. I was stressed. It got out of hand. But it's done. Done. As if betrayal were a meeting you could simply adjourn. I turned to face him. Did you love her? He hesitated. That was enough. It doesn't matter, he said finally. It does to me. He ran a hand over his face. Emma, please. We can fix this. Think about the kids. There it was. The shield men like him use when accountability feels heavy. The kids. I am thinking about the kids, I said calmly. I'm thinking about what they see. What they learn. He stepped closer. They need both of us. They need stability, I replied, not a performance. By noon he had shifted again, from regret to negotiation. Let's not rush into anything legal, he said. We can handle this privately. Privately, meaning quietly, meaning protect his reputation. Your board would be very disappointed, I said mildly. His eyes flickered. You wouldn't what? Expose this. I held his gaze. I haven't decided what I'll do. And that was the truth. Because this wasn't about revenge. It was about balance. 2 days later, I filed. Not dramatically. Not vindictively. Precisely. Allison moved quickly. Custody proposal. Asset division. Documentation of infidelity. Daniel was served at his office. I didn't plan that detail. But I didn't stop it either. He called immediately. You embarrassed me, he snapped. I almost smiled. No, I said evenly. You embarrassed yourself. There was shouting on his end. A door closing. His voice lowering. We can still fix this. You didn't want to fix it when you thought I depended on you. Silence. Heavy. He tried once more. What do you want from me? I looked around the kitchen. At the school art on the fridge. At the life I had built. Nothing, I said. That's the point. The process moved faster than he expected. When financial disclosures were exchanged, his attorney requested clarification on my independent holdings. Daniel hadn't believed the numbers. Not fully. Until they were verified. Until statements were printed. Until properties were appraised. I remember the day he came home after meeting with his lawyer. He stood in the doorway of the living room like a man who had just discovered gravity. You're worth more than I am, he said quietly. It wasn't admiration. It was disbelief. I never stopped being capable, I replied. He shook his head slowly. Why didn't you show me this side of you? I tried, I said. You preferred the smaller version. That hurt him. I could see it, but truth often does. The board at his company launched an internal review when rumors started circulating about his relationship with Victoria. Corporate environments don't love scandal. Victoria resigned first. Daniel followed 2 months later. Officially, it was to, quote, pursue other opportunities. Unofficially, consequences had arrived. He moved into a high-rise apartment downtown, smaller than our house. Quieter. The kids adjusted slowly. Noah asked once, did Daddy break something? Yes, I said gently. But it wasn't your fault. Lily just wanted 2 bedrooms with stuffed animals in both. Children are resilient when adults are honest. The day the divorce was finalized, I didn't cry. I didn't celebrate either. I sat in my car outside the courthouse and let the silence settle. 9 years. Reduced to signatures. But not to ashes. Because I wasn't ruined. I was revealed. A week later, there was another corporate event, different company. Investment summit. This time, I was invited as a speaker. Emma Carter. Independent portfolio strategist. I wore a tailored cream suit, minimal jewelry, confidence that didn't require permission. After my presentation on diversified growth and volatile markets, a man approached me near the stage. "What does your husband do?" he asked casually. I smiled. "I'm divorced." He blinked. "Oh, I'm sorry." "Don't be," I said, because I wasn't. That night, when I picked up the kids from Daniel's apartment, he looked at me differently, not with desire, not with dominance, with recognition. "I underestimated you," he said quietly. "Yes," I replied. He swallowed. "I thought you needed me." I met his eyes steadily. "I wanted you," I said. "There's a difference." He nodded slowly. And for the first time since this began, there was no argument left between us. Just truth. Later, after the kids were asleep in their rooms, I opened my laptop at the kitchen counter. My command center. The numbers were still there. Growing. Steady. But they weren't what made me powerful. It was the understanding that being a stay-at-home mom had never meant being small. That love without respect is a slow erosion. That silence can build empires. Daniel had introduced me as just something. He thought it defined me. He thought it limited me. But the most dangerous thing about being underestimated is that you get to decide when the reveal happens. And when I finally showed him who I was, it wasn't my bank account that changed everything. It was the fact that I never needed his permission to become more.